Hey guys, this is Nora from Caapid Simplified. I hope you've missed this space because I did. I missed all of you guys. With so many of you getting interviews and getting coaching from our team, I couldn't stop myself from making these videos about schools and how I can help you nail this interview. So today we're going to be talking all about Buffalo's bench exam and interview process. We do have a webinar coming up on Buffalo's interview and bench process this weekend. So look out for that down below and register if you haven't yet. All right, let's talk about Buffalo. Buffalo is one of the schools in which I interviewed. I did their bench exam, I got qualified to their interview, and I got placed at Buffalo as well. I didn't choose to go to Buffalo, but it's one of the best schools in the country. They have an extremely good dental program in terms of clinical research and so many other things. They have a very good program director, and the student population was extremely friendly when I went to that school to interview. Now, let's start with my experience with the bench exam. I'm also going to give you an idea about what they ask in their bench exam. So a couple of things that they do is they test you on their your cavity cutting skills. So they make you do a couple of cavity preparations as well. If you hear me turning a couple of papers, it's my notes. I want to talk to you guys about Buffalo. So historically, they've asked for a MO composite prep. It's mostly on a premolar. It's mostly on tooth number 4, but you could expect it to be on any other teeth. Now, composite prep is not very different from an amalgam prep, and we'll talk more about this in our webinar. But that's one of the things that they test you on. They also test you on an amalgam prep. It could be an MO or a DO, but it's not usually a 3-surface. It's usually a 2-surface that they test you on. And then you need to do a PFM prep, which is mostly on an anterior tooth. It could be a number 8 or number 9. You shouldn't be surprised if you're asked to do it on a posterior tooth as well. But if you've practiced doing it on an anterior tooth, you should be able to do it on a posterior as well. We'll talk about the different ways in which you can do that in the webinar. And then you need to do a composite filling and an amalgam filling. It'll be different teeth that already has preps in them, and then you basically need to fill them. So it's a 6-hour bench exam. It's pretty long, but I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to tackle it after you look at our tricks in what we'll be explaining in the webinar. All right. But today is mostly going to be about the interview process at Buffalo and several things that you need to know about the school that will help you tackle that interview process. One of the things about Buffalo is that they want to know that you'll be a student who will be able to gel with the student population. Disclaimer, most of Buffalo's population are Indians. Now that doesn't discourage some of you non-Indians from interviewing at the school, because they do welcome students from other backgrounds as well. They are just looking for students who are very good with their clinical experience and have had some amount of research experience under their belt. They also want students who are easy to talk to, who can walk into the room and make the interviewer feel like you're a breath of fresh air. Now, I said that because somebody else recently said that to me, and I found that really interesting. You have this interviewer sitting there interviewing so many students, some of whom probably have answers that were rehearsed or are not very good, or are basically not to the point, or not giving examples. These are all vital points when you have an interview. You need to be able to do all of this so the other side of the person who's interviewing you, is probably going to be 20 minutes long. They understand who you are, and you should feel like that breath of fresh air and somebody who they could easily talk to when you leave that interview room. You need to leave the interview room giving them a memorable conversation that they could remember until the point that they start selecting the candidates. So it needs to be that way. So usually you have 3 interviewers. Buffalo has a multiple mini interview pattern. I had 3 interviewers last year. All of them were experienced faculty. I did not interview with the director. It was mostly with the professors. Their interview questions are pretty straightforward. They don't ask you about what kind of research experience you've had or something like that. But they do ask you one of the most important questions, which is tell me about yourself. You do not have to change the way you answer this with different kinds of interviewers, because it's not like they're going to go and talk to each other and ask, oh, what did she tell to you? It's not going to be very different. But This answer should be super strategic. And Karthik's going to make a video after this where he's going to talk to you guys about how do you answer this question? How do you have the answer to this question lead the rest of your interview so that this interviewer opposite to you knows a lot about you as a person and knows that you fit into the school in that 20 minutes. All right. So once they do that, they basically ask you about what you know about the school, and the ways in which they can do that is that they can ask you like, so who's your do you know somebody who does a lot of research that you like at the school? It was a question they asked me. It's not something that I knew the answer to, so because I didn't really do a lot of research in terms of who has done research, because it was just not my forte. So that's what I told them. It's okay to tell the interviewer that you don't know if you don't know an answer. You don't always have to have an answer, but the way you say you don't know should be very strategic. So the way I said that was that while research is something that I've always been interested in, it's not something that I've had the chance to dip my feet in a lot. So I didn't really look into it. So I'm not entirely sure about anybody over here who does a lot of research. So I said that, and that's absolutely fine. And spend some time, like, because it's going to be in person, I would say spend some time looking at the city, see if it's a place you want to spend the next 2 years of your life in. I did that. I actually went to a restaurant the previous night, and I tasted this beer that was really, really good. It was local to Buffalo. And I spoke about that in my interview. They asked me, so what do you like about Buffalo? Why do you want to go to this school? Don't make it all about dentistry. If there's one thing I noticed about Buffalo is that they like candidates who are very casual, who are able to talk freely about their likes and dislikes about the place. And I told them that I want to go to Buffalo because it's one of the top schools in dentistry. And I spoke about some of the clinical aspects that some of the things that I would get from them, which is clinical dentistry, also lots of friendship because they do take a good number of students. I also spoke to them about how I would be living close to Niagara, and also I'd be able to drink this beer, which is so good, that I tasted last night. And they were very interested to learn about that. I also asked them about an interesting thing that I noted in Buffalo, which was a lot of advertising boards that spoke about smoking and cancer. So I found that peculiar. So I asked them about it. I asked them, like, I saw this. I don't think I've seen so many advertising boards in other cities about this. So is it something that was an initiative of Buffalo University? And is it something that you guys have been actively doing? And apparently it was. So they thought that it was very interesting that I had that observation. And they told me that looks like you already know a lot about the school. So it really helps. When we tell you that, don't just look into the website, it gets kind of tricky because I used to get annoyed too. I think about like, well, where else can I look, right? So talk to students, talk to me because I've been to Buffalo. Talk to Dr. Lena from our team because she is about to start her school at Buffalo. And while she cannot divulge a lot of information, she would be happy to help with like regular information that she knows about the school, or be happy to connect with somebody else if she knows them. And, talk about things that you observed in the city. One of the things that they want to know is like, would you be able to live in this place? Because Buffalo does get very cold, right? It gets extremely cold. And are you a person who enjoys that? So if you're not, you should be like, yeah, I don't enjoy it a lot, but this is a school that I love and I want to go. So I would be able to make those adjustments. Or if you're a person who loves the snow, and if you're a person who loves winter sports, talk about things that you could do at the school. These are all ways in which you can make a connection with the school. If you've noticed, I didn't speak a lot about, clinical experience or, things that are very technical to dentistry in this interview, because this was how Buffalo interview was, and this is how it's meant to be. You need to learn how to make a conversation with 3 different people and still make it interesting. I know that sounds like a lot. It's pretty challenging, but it's going to be easy. At the end of it, what happens is you guys all go to a conference room, whoever was selected for the interview, and you get to speak to some of the current students who will have lunch with you. I don't know how things will be different this year because of COVID. You might not get to have lunch with them, but I believe you would still have an opportunity to talk with them. Now, this is also an important point because the students may also be asked about which students do you think were kind of easy to talk to or were more curious about the school? So talk to them. It's an opportunity for you to bond and see if these students are somebody who are in your wavelength. Are they somebody, if they are at the school, then those are the kind of people who would be your classmates. So think about that and also ask them about, where do you live? What's the tuition like? I mean, what is the rent like? Are there any student dorms or what kind of restaurants are around? How long does it take to fly to this place? Or, do you guys go to Canada often? You can ask questions like this. Try to bond with them, try to create an image where you can stand. It's more important to do that with the interviewers than with the students, but it would still be something that's valuable. Buffalo, it's important for you to nail the bench exam so that you get to the interview, but it's also super, super important to nail the interview. And to do that, as I said, it's creating a memorable conversation. And if there's somebody who I know who trains you guys to do that well, it's our team at Caapid Simplified. So if you need that coaching, if you want to talk to some of our team members, if you want to talk to me or Karthik, please reach out to our team and we are happy to help.